tomorrow after dark, because it's going to be Ben only for most of this. What?
So depressing.
So depressing.
Tomorrow after dark.
Tomorrow after dark. Hey, so Carrie Ann's not feeling super hot. So what we're going to do is we're going to bounce over to this camera.
On the contrary, I'm feeling very hot.
We're going to bounce over to this camera. We're going to do our open, and then we're going to let her go take a nap, and I'll come back to you guys, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. I have some questions for the community. Sounds like you're in trouble, doesn't it? Community? Don't make me pull this show over. All right. I'll say Copenhagen. We look at the Heat 2X engine from Copenhagen. You can say Falcon 9 re-enters on its Orbcom mission, and I'll say a live interview with Open Space Orbital. Ready?
Sure.
You got it? Coming up, Copenhagen and their Heat 2X engine.
Falcon 9 re-entering on an Orbcom mission.
We've got a live interview with Tyler, the CEO and founder of Open Space Orbital. Stay tuned. Tomorrow begins now. Is that all right?
I have no idea.
Now.
Thank you.
Now.
I heard that too.
All right.
I can do another one if you want. You sort of came over me.
All right.
Wow.
It's a good thing this is after dark.
All right. I did. All
For
right.
both you.
Coming up, the Heat 2X engine fired by Copenhagen.
Falcon 9 re-entering on the Orbcom mission.
And we have a live interview with Tyler Reno, the founder and CEO of Orbital Space. Open Space Orbital. This is going to be 3.
This is awesome.
Sorry.
What did you want me to say? Falcon 9 re-entering an Orbcom mission? That's really what you want me to say?
No, just say Falcon, and we watch the Falcon 9 Stage 1 re-enter or something like that. All right, 3. Coming up, the Heat 2X engine from Copenhagen.
We watched the Falcon 9 Stage 1 re-entering from Orbcom.
And we're joined live by Tyler Reno, the CEO and founder of Open Space Orbital, to talk about... Damn it.
SpaceX captures Orbcom re-entry. Stage 1 re-entry.
Yeah, it's so many words, though. That's the problem.
Cool SpaceX footage.
SpaceX captures re-entry.
SpaceX is awesome.
SpaceX.
How about just awesome footage from SpaceX?
Sure.
All right. Coming up, the Heat 2X engine from Copenhagen.
Some awesome re-entry footage from SpaceX.
And we're joined live by Tyler Reno, the CEO and founder of Open Space Orbital, and talk about random shit and stuff. Start the show!
Random shit and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
5. Sorry.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Coming up, the Heat 2X engine from Copenhagen.
Falcon 9 has some great re-entry footage.
And we're joined live by Tyler Reno, the CEO and founder of Open Space Orbital, to talk about his Kickstarter campaign for a rocket. Stay tuned! Tomorrow begins now. There it is. Let's get you out of here. I'll be right back, everyone. Sing some music for them, Dada. Ready?
No.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm sorry, you guys.
I know. I had one of these not that long ago.
Yeah, you'll notice that through most of the show, I was speaking a lot more like this. That's because if I spoke in my normal voice, this is what it would sound like. It's not pretty.
Don't forget to file your papers.
Don't forget to file your papers. Yeah, so.
Let's get you out
Anyway, love you. Sorry, I gotta go. So. This, that, and the other.
Be right back.
Dying.
Also, you have to deal with the air conditioner, internet.
Hi.
Now that she's gone, we can have fun. I mean, what? This was that this was that picture I was talking about. You can actually get this. This one is numbered and signed. It's something out of. This is 50 out of. I should have looked at the other number. 50 out of 150. I thought this was an awesome picture. You can get this right now at Disneyland in the. Dada, what's that called? Wonderground, I think. Is that a place?
The museum, the gallery.
Unfortunately, I don't have my earbud in, so I can't hear you. But yeah.
The gallery.
Yeah, Wonderground Gallery. Is that it? I thought this was a really cool picture as well. So there you go. I should move back to the chat room. Oh, I should also start the thing. Hopefully you guys like that show. I'm super excited. Pilot was quite well spoken, I thought, and actually, Dada, can you fix that camera for me? There's no carry-in. We don't need to have all the. Wait, hang on. I could do this like that. There you go. Yeah, perfect. Just like that. Cheap and easy. So there. Oh, actually, yeah, we could bring Dada out here if we wanted to. Dada on cam. You guys are all right. So my question to the chat room, and actually I'm going to talk to Dada in more detail about this in a bit, but. So we're doing a lot of these shows, and in order to respect our guests' time, I don't want them to sit through a 13-minute segment where they're doing nothing and then bring them in for 13 minutes. So we've been doing the guest interview at the top, followed by an out-of-order show that would then go back and edit. I'm wondering how much it would impact the show if we flip-flop segments 1 and 2. So when we have a guest on, we make segment 1 the live interview, when we immediately go into it, and that would be the actual order of the show. Are we overly opposed to this? Is there, oh, this is blue. Part of the reason I have Space News in the front is because it seemed like it was the thing that most people were interested in most of the time. But I'm wondering if that's really true anymore, right? Because really, you can just go to Reddit or wherever and get your Space News there. I mean, we were fairly timely in the Copenhagen story, but generally speaking, you guys already know all that stuff. Well, I mean, for the most part. Sometimes I try to grab some stuff that maybe you hadn't seen. But, you know, all the launch coverage, you know all that. So, yeah, I mean, curious to know what you think. So Adrian says, you know, Space News is great, but you can put it anywhere in the show. But if you're coming... So, it's tricky. Because when there's a main topic, a lot of people really only come for the space news, right? They just kind of want to see cool rockets launching and stuff like that. And then maybe they're interested in the main topic, maybe not, so they'll watch the space news and then dump. I feel like when it's a live interview, a lot of people come for the interview and maybe don't care so much about the space news. Helldesk, interesting point. Space news was the main thing when we didn't have original content of our own yet. Meaning we didn't have interviews and stuff like that, so all we could do is space news, which is a fair assessment, I think. But I don't feel like space news should go away. All right, so Dada, say that out loud. It's a good recap. You don't have time to keep it up. Yeah. So I'm not saying get rid of space. Be clear, we're not getting rid of space news. I feel like there is a value to having space news in the show. Shouldn't go away. And the shows where we did, I think, Maston or something like that, where there was a show where we didn't do space news at all. We just did 2 interview segments and skipped the news. I didn't like that. I thought it was awful. Hang on, I'll put my earbud back in so I can hear you. Give me a second. All right. Oh.
With Dave Masson, we did 2 topic segments and we did space news, I thought.
Yeah, that's because before, and I don't remember if this is when you were directing or not, we did an interview where it was 2 segments of interview and then like comments, and we skipped space news altogether. it was a fairly slow news week, and I didn't like the show as much. I didn't feel like it flowed. So I'm of course not saying get rid of Space News. What I'm trying to figure out is, can we have a pretty good flow? We finally, after 6 years of doing this thing, we finally got into a pretty good flow of 13 minutes of Space News, 13 minutes of a main topic, 13 minutes of comments, and it's all a little floofy, right? So if we don't have quite enough Space News, we'll go short or we'll go long or whatever, right? But generally speaking, in that order, in that timing each week. What if I mess with the formula? What if I say, okay, when we have a live interview guest, it's 13 minutes or 20 minutes, depending upon the guest, of live interview, and then 13 minutes of Space News and 13 minutes of something else. And that's actually another question, is when we have a live guest, should I consider doing what we did with Dave Maston, where we break it into 2 segments like that? So it's a 4-segment show instead of a 3-segment show.
I think I'm okay if I have advance notice if you want to change the order of the segments and, jumble it up a little bit for the live audience, even if for editing and for the YouTube subscribers and all that, you want to switch it back around and make it more cohesive with Space News first and then your segments and then comments.
Yeah, I don't mind editing, and I think that I've been okay in telling you that what we're doing, right? I mean, I haven't.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we're able to coordinate this live fairly well and go back on demand and fix it. I guess I'm asking the community, is that okay with you? Do you mind us doing it? I assume you don't mind us doing it out of order. You actually get to see a little bit of the TV magic. But then even on top of that, when you're watching the on-demand show, what are you watching for? Because I want to put that thing that you really want first, right? So I don't want you to have to wait through 13 minutes of stuff that you don't want to see to get to the thing that you want to get to. So in general, I understand that every episode is a little bit different, but in general, do you prefer the Space News segment or the main topic / interview segment of the show? What is it you come to see first and foremost? How about that? Nick's here for the whole package. SJM says Space News. Adrian C., that's actually not an invalid comment. Adrian says, when you have guests in the studio, it's normal to give them more time, not just 13 minutes. 20, 25 minutes, it's very okay. Also, if they're in studio, it's very natural to start with them. Actually, you'll notice that's exactly what we do. Today's interview was closer to 20 minutes as opposed to 13 minutes, because that was the natural flow of the conversation. We purposely end it just a pinch early. They don't want to get to the point where there's nothing else to say, because then it's awkward. So we want to get to the point where we're just a little bit early, kind of wanting you to have a little bit more information where you can go online and find whatever you need to find, right? So, I do not think I can wear that any longer. It tickles. Ugh. Ouch. Anyhow. Coco Fan wants, all right, so, JDNZ, YouTube people can slide the buffer. That's true. I'm just trying to make it so that if you're a brand new YouTube user, or if you're just coming in for the first time, you don't have to wade through stuff. At the end of the day, though, you're right. And maybe what I should do, maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe in the description, I just simply say, Space News starts here, main topic starts here, and you can just click on it. We'll jump straight to that point. I can do that on YouTube. I have no idea where I got this t-shirt. Carrie Ann buys all my t-shirts. Coco Fan, we have been doing a lot of interviews. I think the show is better with interviews than it is with a main topic. We have main topics like Carrie Ann and I discussing a topic. Even if it does come down to Carrie Ann and I discussing a topic again, I like the idea of bringing other people in. You don't want to just hear Carrie Ann and I ramble on about something. We are your outlet to other cool people, right? And I love it when you guys ask questions in the chat room. I thought this worked brilliantly this last time. Here's how it worked. I cannot read the chat room live with everyone talking, because you guys go off on tangents, and you should be allowed to go off on tangents, and I shouldn't be like, stay blah, blah, blah. You should be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about. But that means that when we're live, I can't watch the room and actually, in real time, find questions that are relevant. So what happened was, for the first time, Carrie Ann was actually sitting next to Dutta, and she was scanning the chat room for interesting questions and would PM them to me, and then I would read through those, and that's what made it up on air. And you'll notice we actually had a lot more of your questions in this specific episode than we ever had it before, because I could just look down, see there was a new message, and know that it was relevant to the conversation at hand. That I thought was the best of both worlds. So you guys could do whatever you wanted. I got the relevant questions, and we got to ask your questions on the air with your usernames, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, Quarkspin, I agree. The chat room did. I love it when you guys, sometimes you guys are so into the, I think here's what happens, and maybe I'm mistaken. Sometimes you guys get so into the topic and the guest is so engaging that you're just listening to what they're saying and you're not asking questions. That's okay too. You're not asking questions because you just want to know what they have to say. This time there were a lot of questions, and I think that's really cool too. I prefer it when you have questions because I think it's. What did you think, Dutta?
I saw a lot of good questions in the chat room.
Ooh.
Hey, how's it going?
That was me. That's me. Hang on. I'm gonna do this. See if I can do this. It'll be cheat. Ooh. Oh, that's why that fed back. Holy crap. One more time, Dutta?
There were a lot of good questions in the chat room.
Do you prefer it when there are questions from the chat room or when I just kind of run off and do my own thing?
A mix of both. If there are good questions, yeah, absolutely. Feed those to the guests and see what they have to say. But if you've got your whole interview laid out and you have enough to ask them. I think maybe this is a dumb idea, but I like the idea of us being the conduit for you guys. So we bring on cool people. For example, next week we've got Firefly Space on. I've got a few default questions we're going to ask, but I like being able to have you guys say, hey, what about this? And being able to, if you have a question, be able to ask it on your behalf of people that maybe you wouldn't normally be able to ask questions of. Oh, yeah, and actually, BZ, I think that's the other thing, is that any mean-spirited questions we'll just ignore. We're not here to, we are not Fox News. We are not here to have shouting matches between two talking heads. We're here to get people inspired about space. And that means that we're going to talk about the really cool things that you're doing. Now, if you're doing something that's a little bit like, I don't understand this, we're going to say, I don't understand what you're thinking with this. But that doesn't mean we have to shout at them or tell them that they're stupid or wrong. It just means we don't understand. Ooh, Badger Legs, can we use a question tag like question mark before the actual question? Interesting idea. Really interesting idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. It still needs to be funneled to me, but I think. That's the other thing we changed, and I think this one I'm not changing back because I think this works extremely well. We got rid of Carrie Ann when we have guests because it's awkward to have the two of us and then one of them, and I think that it works way better just having a one-on-one conversation and then having, unless you guys disagree. No, I think it works well.
I think it works really well too. I think it works way better than before. But yeah, Badger Legs, that works exceptionally well. I can just look down at the chat room and I immediately, that line pops out at me when you do that. So Badger Legs, for those of you who can't see if you're watching on demand, did question mark, the question, and then question mark at the end again. And it really pops out in my chat room. Sophia, yeah, I completely agree. Actually, also, you had a really great question. The other thing I would request of you guys when you're doing this is try to keep your questions as condensed and concise as possible. Think of the questions like a tweet. If I can't say it in under 140 characters, I'm probably not going to do it. I mentioned that because, Sophia, you had a longer question, although it was good, so we did air it. But there were other questions that were a little bit longer, which I purposely ignored because I knew I'd be stumbling over your question. Yeah, but BZ Wing Zero, I don't think everyone will be doing question mark, because there are two types of conversations happening in the chat room. There is the you guys talking to each other and saying blah, 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 blah. And then there's the, hey, I would like to know this legitimate question from the guest. And it's only the legitimate question from the guest that would get the question mark. I held desk, I do, in fact, when you wrote that, I turned yellow because you did that. And one thing I could do is do a highlight for question mark, question mark, question mark as well, which would make it pop more, or I can highlight any term I want. So we as a community need to decide what term that should be used. I still like Carrie Ann feeding me the questions, but maybe this works better.
You could set up a bot for that.
Oh yeah, Colton. Adrian, if I can, a lot of these people who are kind of superstar, I don't know what to call them, online celebrities, will actually charge for their time. Some of them won't, but some of them will. So Phil Plait may come on. I don't know. I'll try. No, he won't. I'm getting a no from the control room. Do you know that for certain? Have you?
Yeah, ask me after the show.
Oh, one of those. Copy. A Google Hangout with Richard Branson and Elon Musk. So we have brought Elon on before. I do intend on bringing Richard Branson on. Actually, what I really want to do before then is I'd like to bring on, kind of like in order possibly, Will Pomerantz, who's special projects over at Virgin Galactic. And then I do want to bring on George Whitesides, who's the president of Virgin Galactic as well. I think he'd be a really great person to have on. And then, as a completely different topic, Loretta Whitesides, who is super spacey, just outside of everything. She was hardcore. She does amazing things in space. Well, not in space. You know what I mean. We need to bring her on too, like as her own segment, to talk about Yuri's Night and all the other cool stuff that she's doing.
Branson and Musk is like a celebrity death match.
It is. See, and that's exactly what I want to avoid, right? I don't want the shouting heads or the "we're better than you." Each company has something better. I can't go to space on a SpaceX anything, right? I can't afford it. Even when they start launching Dragon V2, there's just no way. Not that I can afford Virgin Galactic, but Virgin Galactic is so much less expensive to go to suborbital. Yeah, you're right. Suborbital. Not that you said anything, but it's suborbital space, so it's completely different. But each one has their pros and cons, and I don't think one is better than the other. Yeah, BZ, Loretta is awesome. She needs to have her own segment on the show. George needs to have his own segment, and then Loretta needs to have her own segment. Yeah, actually, BZ will do a segment on KSP sometime. I'm still trying to figure out, so we obviously have our guest for next week lined up. It's a scheduling thing. Trying to schedule people Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern is actually a little bit complicated because they generally don't want to give up their weekend. Now, these small space startups, they'll give up every day of the week because they live in perpetual Wednesday. That is just how small space startups work. That's how most startups work, right? So it's a lot easier for me to bring these small space startups on because perpetual Wednesday. To them, it's just Wednesday. For some other companies that are not small startups, a little bit more difficult because it's a Saturday. It's certainly not impossible, but yeah. The stream. All right, let me take a peek. Hang on. Oh. So, yep, yeah, sorry guys. So, it looks like we lost the encoder. I can't win. Now, here's the deal. One of the goals on Patreon was to move us to live stream whatever we're using now because we were having so many issues with YouTube. YouTube is stabilized, and more importantly, I now have 20 megabits upload connection. Now, it could be my upload connection, too, that's at fault, too. So, would you prefer that I move back to YouTube? Does anyone have a preference of YouTube over live stream? I mean, obviously, so long as it works, but do you guys care as long as the technology works? Yeah, the issue we just had, by the way, was the encoder crapping out. That was on us. That wasn't live stream's fault. That was the encoder itself. There's a huge difference between live stream and YouTube from an encode standpoint. YouTube, I send it one feed, one 1080p feed, and it turns everything into whatever we need in the cloud, and then you get all the different versions and off you go. Live stream, on the other hand, I have to encode 1080p, 720p, 480p, and 240p all on the same machine concurrently before I send it up, which means it needs a really beefy encoder. And we're using, if you guys remember, we did that campaign a while ago to do live shuttle launch coverage, and Perforce sponsored us and actually bought the system for us. It's that same exact Perforce sponsored Mac Pro that is running the show today. Nick, yeah, you're not necessarily wrong. YouTube's stable today, broken tomorrow. That's the other issue with YouTube. It does not work in Germany. Dada, you look bored. Are you cold?
I'm just kicking back, watching you.
Just kicking back?
Pushing buttons.
Pushing buttons? I got my virtual carry-in right here. Man, you're so stupid. Why are you doing that? Shut up. Stop doing that. My virtual carry-in. All right, let's see here. So live stream. All right, so YouTube does often glitch. You guys haven't seen it stabilize a whole lot more. All right, there you go. There's that. Let's see here. We did the show open. Any other cool stuff that we had? Did I miss any news, Dada?
I don't know. I get my news from you.
I hope not. Actually, that's a valid point. How many of you get your news from TMRO, and we're your primary place where you get your space news every week, as opposed to going to Reddit/r/space, spacenews.com, Parabolic Arc. What am I missing? I'm missing a bunch. Spaceflight Now, that's the big one that I just missed, and NASA Spaceflight.
Through the week, I might be able to catch a couple things on Twitter or Facebook or something like that, but usually my big catch-up session is sitting here Saturday afternoon.
BZ Wing gets tomorrow's news today. Yeah, Badger Legs get your news way before it, right? Because that's the problem with a weekly show, is that we cannot be timely. At best, we can talk about something that happened slightly earlier in the day, like Copenhagen was today. That's at best. At worst, it's like a week old or more.
I get last week's news from tomorrow.
Tomorrow, getting last week's news today. There's a brilliant irony there. I love it.
You're almost like John Oliver for space.
I'm John Oliver. I need to do this dance then when we come in. The music. Did you watch that last week tonight or whatever that was?
I watch the show weekly, yeah.
I love that show.
Yes, very much.
Oh, Nick Forever, merchandise shop. So, here's my plan for merch shop. First, I need Dada's help to clean up this logo. So, here's my problem. I know a lot of people think I'm crazy. No, I'm crazy. I am crazy. But things like this logo matter, because once you're done, you can't really easily change it, or it's very costly and time consuming to change it. So you really want to get it right, which is why we're spending so much time to do this. The T and the logo element work well together. The O works well with all of that. Now that I fixed the O, I'm not convinced that I like the M and the R anymore. Because I look at it and I'm like, man, because it does kind of do this weird, like, lean, not lean thing now. And so I'm like, fuck. So, Dada has been great in sending me revisions, and it gives me the ability to, you should see, he has, like, a sheet with, I think, 1.7 billion revisions.
1.3 billion.
1.3, I over-exaggerated a little bit. And, logos do evolve, but they don't evolve often, right? So you have been watching our logo evolve live on the air, week after week. Like, just even how the T interacts with the logo, like it was smaller and off before. The M and the R have changed. The O is completely different as of last week. But we're darn close. I think these three elements work together. I think if we italicize maybe the R and the O and kind of give it all that kind of swooping motion that way and kill that straight line effect, maybe that will fix it. I don't know. So I'm going to give it to Dutta and hope that he has time to maybe play with it, because he's better at vector graphics than I am by about 500%. So we'll see. We'll see. An orbital slanted. Yeah, see, if we slant... So the M kind of comes to a straight line, hard line down. If we slant everything at that same rate that the M is going at, and then the R has this weird, the R has an extra like weird curve to it that needs to be, I think, squared out a little bit more like the O. It's close. We are close, but before we start putting it on mugs and shirts and getting embroidered, because let's just say we get embroidered shirts, I have to pay for the initial plate for the embroidery, and if I make a change, I have to buy a whole new embroidered plate. And the way we're going to do the merch shop, I believe, is that we're going to go and find high quality things. So we're not going to go to Cafe Press, we're not going to go to any one of those weird little crappy shops. We're actually going to go out and we're going to get nice shirts. Like, we're going to find local people that do really good jobs of these things, and then buy, like 5 of each size or 20 of each size or whatever it is. Then we're going to send it all to Amazon, and it's going to be fulfilled by Amazon and be available on Amazon Prime. So as long as you can get Amazon, you'll be able to get all of this stuff. And there's cost involved in all of that. So, and that's fine, because you guys deserve your merchandise, and you deserve to get it quickly, and you deserve to be able to buy it efficiently. And that's where that's where I believe the next $1,000 Patreon goal should be, is the merchandise shop. I do not believe it should be a live stream enterprise. I think that's a good way to spend money in such a way that you guys like what you get. And the merchandise will not be a profit center for tomorrow. I hope to break even. Right? So that's all I want to do. And because I believe the merchandise is a great way for you to show your support for the show. It also makes you into a walking billboard for the show if you're wearing like a cool TMRO shirt. And they have to be cool shirts. So it has to be something that you want to wear, you're excited to wear, and that gets you excited to talk about the show. Nick, I think quality is greater than price. So what I want to do is I want to get you quality products, like really cool, high quality products, but then not charge you, 50% overhead for it. I'll charge you whatever my price for the shirt was, plus whatever my price for Amazon fulfillment is, plus whatever the cost of shipping is, and that's about it. That's all I really want to charge you.
Astro Eric wants to buy 5,000 shirts.
Yeah, so, I mean, if someone does an order of that size, we'll figure it out. And actually, Badger Leg says, shoot for profit so you can break even. Yeah, I mean, I'm not dumb. There are going to be unforeseen expenses. So, but typical profit is like 30-50%. We're going to probably be around 5%. I mean, pretty low. I don't want to lose money on it because I think that's a bad use of the Patreon funds. A good use of the Patreon funds, though, is being able to front the cash to get the really cool products. And we'll start small. So we'll start with a couple shirts and maybe a mug or two. But then my goal is, once we get these things done, we'll be able to use that as a recurring, regurgitating thing. And actually, now that I say that out loud, now that I just said we're going to keep it low, we actually need to have enough funds from the profit of this stuff. So we do need to make a little bit of money so that we can buy the next thing from the thing that you just bought, if that makes any sense, right? So when you buy a shirt, I need enough money to re-fulfill the shirt, right? Effort is money too, but we put a great deal of effort into the show, and I think it is worth me giving my time away for free for this particular project. I think so. I think the reward outweighs the minuscule amount of money we would make from merchandise. I don't believe, maybe I'm wrong, I don't believe we're going to have a huge amount of people buying lots of merchandise from us. I think it's going to be for the passionate people like you guys that are watching live. You're going to buy a shirt or two. I think we'll have an influx of stuff because there's this pent-up demand right now. We'll have an influx of stuff at first, and then it will very quickly taper off, and we'll sell maybe 5 things a month. This is based on no real data whatsoever, just my gut feeling. Dada, what do you think?
I don't know.
Yeah, me too. I don't think we need a Kickstarter. I think, so we're already crowdfunded, and I think that if we bring it up to the $1,000 Patreon goal, that gives us enough money to crowdfund this project and make sure that it works. The key, though, is to get this logo correct. And we're darn close, and I'm sure you guys are sick of me complaining about the logo. I'm not really complaining about it, but I really want to get this so that when you see the logo, you go, yeah, that's the one. You know? And we're not quite there yet. You agree?
I agree.
Yeah. So, a little more time. Yeah, oh man. So, everyone wants to make the O into something that's stylized. Don't do that. It looks wrong. It looks cheesy, actually, is what ends up happening. Yeah, actually, so, all right. Speaking of needing to grow the audience, that's not wrong either. And so I think the $1,500 goal would be to build a new ad for tomorrow and then air that ad on YouTube and other places that will get you like a 20-second or 15-second ad, pre-roll ad, something that would kind of capture your imagination very quickly and get you excited about what we're doing. And maybe some traditional advertising as well, maybe dropping a full-page ad in a targeted area. See, I go back and forth. I feel like if we target existing space geeks, not a whole lot of good there, right? Because if you're an existing space geek, you're already in the fold. Whether you watch the show or not, cool. We're here to get you excited about space, so you're probably already excited about space. I love to have you here as a viewer, but you're probably already excited about space. I feel like I should be targeting technology shows and technology areas where you're already a geek, and maybe you'd forgotten that you're a space geek too. Yeah, I'm not sure. See, I say print, but, man, I just do not foresee the return on investment on that.
I think you need to cover launches. Even satellites.
A couple launches?
Cover launches.
Oh, cover. So, yes. That would be, if we make it up to,
What was it, 5?
I think it was 5. I think I can bring that down to like 4. If we're making up to 4,000 per episode, which I'm beginning to believe in is an actual achievable goal. We make it up to $4,000 per episode. I think we'll be able to do that. We'll be able to cover just about everything. And actually, at 4,000 per episode, we may be able to, you know how I have this idea of creating a hub down at Kennedy Space Center, outside of Kennedy Space Center, where we'd have some large LED panels that has all the information, some cameras, like basically a outdoor TV studio, but more of a place where space geeks can get together and get just a great epic view of the launch, and have, like, you know, water available, soda available, food available, just things, no matter what time of day, right? So it's set up for day or night launches. And kind of make a cool little get-together out of it. And you come for free, right? If you show up for free. That's where we cover the launch from as well. I think at $4,000 per episode, that would be enough for us to begin funding that. It would have to be done in stages at that point. But I think that would allow me to do that.
And could you do that from, like, Vandenberg or Wallops or...
Yeah, that's a valid point, which is, you know, we don't only launch from Cape Canaveral, we also launch from Vandenberg, Wallops, and of course there's ESA, who launches from
the jungle.
the middle of the jungle, yeah, the Amazon jungle. And then there's Russia, who launches in the middle of a blizzard.
Siberia.
Sure. Sure. And there's Japan, who launches someplace beautiful. Right? I mean, that's just a gorgeous launch center.
Yeah,
right on the end. So that doesn't help with all of that, but there are a fantastic number. I don't know how to deal with that yet. I have not figured that out.
And there's Brownville, Mexico. Texas.
I see what you did there. That's hilarious. There's also Brownsville as well. I don't know how to deal with that. So, as we and the thing is, when we move to this kind of launch coverage, it will not be regurgitated NASA TV or regurgitated launch provider launch coverage. It will be uniquely our own. It will be our own cameras on the rocket with our own talent, our own commentary. We'll bring in our own people, and we'll, just like this, we'll interact with you guys, the community, and bring on Twitter questions. I mean, it'll be a cool event. It'll be, if you guys remember Space Shuttle launch coverage, it will be like that. And I believe we can get there. I do not believe it will happen this year, and I do not believe it will happen next year, but maybe the year following. We'll see. So yeah, maybe what we'll do, so what I might do is make a somewhat permanent home at Cape Canaveral, because there are so many launch sites there. It's such a hub for operations. And then the current studio that Dutta, you're in right now, that control room, I figure sometime around 2018, Ubercase will be done. So we can... So Ubercase is the custom control room box thingy that Dutta has been working on. It's a wooden, amazing case for the whole control room.
It's a pile of toothpicks in my living room.
It's a pile of toothpicks in his living room right now, and I'm paying him an exorbitant amount of money to get it done. $0.00. So the thing with Ubercase is that it will allow me to basically shut a door, pull out power, wheel it into a car, and drive it wherever I need to go, or put it in a U-Haul or whatever, and then roll it out, plug in power, and it's basically ready to go. You just need to apply internet connection to it. And once we get to the point where we're making like $4,000 per episode, we'll do a Teradek. We'll do a Teradek encoder, a Teradek slice, and a Teradek bond on board. So we'll just have like 5 LTE modems on the back. So I don't even need to worry about internet so long as I've got AT&T, Verizon's, T-Mobile, and Sprint, and then maybe another Verizon because their internet is kind of kick-ass. So. Yeah, and maybe we could cover the first SLS launch. I'm excited to bring back launch coverage. I think we did a pretty stellar job at it. We weren't the best in the world, but I think we offered some stuff that no one else did. Like, people go and do launch coverage and they speak to you. I think the difference is we spoke with you, and it was a journey that we went on together. Oh my God, that sounded cheesy. But it was, well, it does, right? But it was something that we did together, and we cheered along, and it was a lot of fun.
It was really good footage, really good coverage.
You found out 8K actually exists, like 8K resolution? Yeah, that's a real thing. They had that at the National Association of Broadcasters. They were showing cameras and screens, all of which were working at 8K. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Nick Forever, I think the interactivity is what sets us apart, right? It makes it a much more dynamic show. And then you can ask questions. An 8 megahertz 8088. There was a 8080 processor as well. Larsenator, I'm sorry, you did in fact miss the show. We are on After Dark right now. You missed it by like an hour and 45 minutes. That's when we started, at least. Yeah, so my intent is to bring back launch coverage and to bring it back in a really cool way. So we don't need to spend gobs and gobs of money on scary, expensive $100,000 cameras. So it's hard because the optics are important, right? So if we're going to do our own launch coverage, we need to have, we're going to be at least at Kennedy's. So starting with Kennedy Space Center, and then we can branch out to Wallops and all the other ones eventually. But starting at Kennedy Space Center, we're going to need to have optics that can shoot the vehicle at the pad about 10 miles away. Then, on top of that, we need to be able to track the vehicle. And ideally, we'd also be able to get a downlink from the vehicle, but that's probably not as reasonable. Now, JD says get a RED, and the RED is a 6K camera, a Red Dragon at least. It's a 6K camera, but it's not very good at live. They did announce a live pack on the back of it at NAB, and that would allow us to do 4K. Actually, we could do 4K live with that. There's a switcher that we can get, the upgrade to the current switcher that we have for about $4,000 that will give us 4K live production. But I can't stream 4K today. I have no way to give that to you. YouTube doesn't support it. Livestream doesn't support it. It's just an unreasonable resolution. Although, I'll argue if I stream in 1080p and then you have all the smaller versions, but then we give you the on-demand broadcast in 4K and all of our cameras are 4K, holy crap, would that be awesome. Oh my God. Now, I know 4K is not a thing today. Like, most of you probably don't have 4K TVs, but you will, and it is glorious, and it's much like moving from standard definition to high definition. It's frickin' awesome.
Tomorrow, plane camera.
You know, a drone might be cool, but there's huge restrictions as to what you can throw in the air. Yeah, I don't know. Astra Air, because it, yeah. Let's see here, what else? Citizen 04 says, can you cover space conferences, please? Pretty please. Well, once again, once we make it to that $4,000 level, I think space conferences kind of get slid into that as well. I don't think a lot of conferences realize how hard good video production is, and they don't want to spend the money on it. They think that they can just do it themselves, and it's not just equipment, it's talent. And so, yeah, you end up with a lot of stuff that's subpar. So if we can go in there and we can have a crowd-funded solution where we say, look, it's just part of tomorrow is us covering space conferences. We already own youtube.com/space conferences, and the guys at NewSpace are awesome, so we'll give them as much gear as we can afford to give them, which unfortunately is less than I would want, but it's more than most. And they go and they run and they do it themselves, and they do a pretty good job. But I think we can do all of these things so much better. We just need to reach a point where I don't have to rely on some other form of income to do what I'm doing. That's where that $4,000 number comes from. It also is enough to bolster the show. So even at the numbers we're at now, I keep throwing money at the show because I want to do cool things. See a new space ready. Yeah, Teary Eye, Space Conference audio is hard too, and it's usually is PA audio, but that's all fixable. That's all fixable by someone who knows what to do and how to wire it and how to get it going. It also requires some compression and a decent audio board.
We've done some that wasn't horrible.
Yeah, well, the challenge with conferences in general is that it's not one room. It's like 5 or 6. So even if you're not doing them live, you need at least 5 or 6 operators then, and you usually don't have that. You usually have one operator that bounces between all 6 rooms. The other challenge is that of the people presenting, exactly 0 of them know how to use a microphone. So you have to compensate for that, and that is not easy to do either. Usually in the big room, right, the one with the podium, they're forced to stand near the microphone, but in other rooms, sometimes they won't even pick it up. And so getting good audio from 20 feet away is just hard to do. Not all of these things are fixable, by the way, right? You can do proximity. There are many things you could do to fix this.
Dish microphones.
Yeah, again, that would need an operator. But yeah, there are ways to fix that. Yeah, you know, BZ, actually that would be a good start. Saying 1 or 2 conferences or keynotes for, would be good. The other issue that people forget from conference standpoint is that a lot of people don't want to be recorded. And we need to have a release form indicating, this stands for release form when I do this from now on. You'll know that this means release form. Indicating that we're allowed to broadcast them without restriction. You'd be surprised at how many of them will not sign that form. So a lot of it isn't us saying no, a lot of it is the speaker saying no. And unfortunately, it's usually the speaker that you want to hear that says no. The ones that you don't want to hear, they'll let you, whatever, they'll talk to anyone. It's the Neil deGrasse Tysons of the world who are like, no, absolutely not, you can't record this. Yeah, exactly, there you go, yep. Nick Forever didn't Miles O'Brien have his own stream show online about space? Yeah, it was called This Week in Space with Miles O'Brien. It was co-produced with Spaceflight Now. It was actually a really good show. About 30 to 40 minutes every week. Slightly different format than our show. Forced us to step up our game. Bring back Space Pods. That will happen again once we hit that kind of $4,000 mark. Actually, Space Pods will probably happen at $5,000. They are fantastically time-consuming with very little reward on the back end. Kale shits, but that was just an example of someone who was stuffing things. Yeah, BZ, we owe a good chunk of this show to Miles O'Brien. He made it so that we could get to the press site. Miles O'Brien is good people. Yeah, I think so. Just so everyone knows where my head is, there are several aspects to a show, especially this show, that make it work. First is content, right? We have to be talking about something that you care about, and we have to be knowledgeable enough to be able to talk about it, and talk about it in a fairly exciting way. We're okay at that right now. I think we can be better, and I think we need to play with the format a little bit.
Acting classes.
Acting class. Well, while the comment wasn't well thought out, I don't believe, the meaning or thought behind it wasn't wrong. Which is, we can be better with regards to content. We as hosts can do a better job. Now, I don't want us to take acting classes, and I don't want this to become like this week, coming up, one of those. I actually do that kind of mockingly in the coming up, the cold open, because I think it's funny. But that's not what we want for the show. We want the show to be like this live, interactive, like you're part of the show. That's what I want. The second part is it should be, if you're going to be live, you should be interactive, right? Like this. If I'm just live and I'm just shooting the show and I'm not I'm not looking at the chat room, I'm not talking to the chat room, and we're just doing essentially a segmented show, why are we live? Just edit the whole thing together. You'll fix all your mistakes in post-production. I mean, you'll get a better show out of it. The next thing is you need to be high quality. Like, when you sign into the show, you need to be able to hear us clearly. Video is 80% audio, so audio is very important, and we're still struggling with that a little bit. Although we're better. I found out last week we have a problem on channels 10 through 16 on the recording that's adding faux digital noise that's like, you can't hear it, but the VU meters see it. And YouTube sees it, and your playback devices see it. If I get rid of those channels, we actually, like if I only use channels 1 and 2, which I should have been doing all along anyhow, and I time delay it by 3 frames, audio is so much cleaner, so much better, it's not even funny. So you'll start seeing that moving forward. I didn't know what was wrong until recently. So video is 80% audio. You have to have nice and clean audio. I need to drop this microphone as well and do some other cool things, but we need to get really good clean audio. I think we're okay with audio. It's also quality, so how well is this lit? Is it high definition, or is at least a definition that you can understand? Then it's stability from a live standpoint. Can you see it reliably? And then adding into that, it's a little bit technology too. So is there something cool going on, like that live interactive? Can we throw the Twitter stuff at the bottom of the screen? Can I interact with you live and do some cool technology things on the screen? But moreover, can I hit 4K pretty quickly, right? If you're watching launch coverage and you have the option to watch the Delta 4 in 1080p or the Delta 4 launch in 4K, which one would you pick?
4K.
4K, right? So it does matter. A lot of people are like, content is king, content's the only thing that matters. All of it matters. From top to bottom, content matters, quality matters, audio matters, interactivity matters, resolution matters. All of these things matter. Some of them matter more than other things, but I think we should target all of these things at all times.
Good content builds a decent show. Everything else builds a good show, a great show.
I say everything else builds a good show, and then doing everything else extremely well builds a great show.
Yeah.
There you go. Hang on. What about Space Pod news like my friend does with 10? Transport Evolved News. 10 minute of electric vehicle news. Try that with a 10-minute news show. So Nick, I'll get to your question in a minute. Let me favorite that really quick so I don't miss it. Where the heck is my favorite button? There it is. Boom. Window favorites. There you are. All right, so okay. I totally lost my thought because I. I know what it was. Is doing a 10-minute show. Is the point that we would do a 10-minute news show, like we remove space news from the live show and move that into its own pre-recorded show? That would be a weekly thing, or because there is not 10 minutes of space news every day. There is a minute of space news every day, but the industry just does not move that fast. So
Friday, August the 14th, 2014. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield, and this is episode number 47 of TEN, Transport Evolved News, for the week beginning August the 11th, 2014. Less than a month after hackers at the SciScan 360 conference patched a very negative impact on communication and fuel rates.
yeah, but my question remains: is this daily? Hang on, I'll just look and find out. Videos. So this is weekly. So yeah, actually doing a weekly news segment, we could take what we do from space news and rip it out of the show and make it its own 10-minute or 15 or 20-minute news segment that is maybe not live, because news doesn't need to be live, maybe not live, and just its own show. I prefer to do that over space pods. Space pods are quite good. Right? I mean, everyone asks for them back. That's how good they are. It's just that they're so time consuming. They're just so freaking time consuming. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, I'm not sure that maybe in the future. But I think today what we've got already kind of works. Adding the space news into the rest of the show works as a cohesive package. I think. I mean, chat room, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that today, I think we're all right. Nick Forever said, I think you missed my question, blah, blah, blah. Did you try reaching out to Miles O'Brien and get his side of the media industry and what it lacks when it comes to space? I have not tried that. That's a good idea. Heldas asks, would you even get footage from a ULA launch in 4K? Only if I brought my own cameras. Which I could do. That's where the optics come into play, and being able to get, really good optics that can go 10 miles, because that's how far away the vehicle would be. But once the vehicle jumps off the pad, my systems might be better than theirs, because while everyone wants to think that the range and whatnot has this great, amazing system, in reality, not so much. So they're using old school technology. Chris Hawley, get someone else to do the space pods. Expand the team of tomorrow, absolutely. But that's back where I think if we reach $5,000 per episode, we can actually then start affording to pay people to do that, because that is a full-time job. So, yeah, no, I would actually. If you're good at it, why not hire from within the community? But we need to be able to make enough money to consistently and reliably release good content. That's the other thing, is the show needs to be consistent. You can't have a great show with awesome stuff one week and then a crappy show that looks like shit the next week, right? You need to be, I mean, obviously you're going to do this a little bit, but you can't be doing this, right? Some hardcore logos on the 4K footage. Sell it back to the networks. Maybe, again, I'm digging on the crowdfunding of this show. I'm not trying to make Yeah, but yeah. Astro Eric, focus on what we're doing. I think yes. So, start by saying we're not changing anything right now. I'm just simply throwing out ideas and letting you know what's inside of my brain. Right now, nothing's changing because we just don't have the funds to do it. But as things change, and as we get more funds, and as we're able to, as that enables us to do stuff, because money is an enabler, then we're going to do more stuff, right? I mean, I'm not going to just sit on this and do nothing with it. We're going to do cool things, and I'm continually amazed at how awesome the community of tomorrow is, and how much we're able to bring in through Patreon. It's way more than Epic ever was. It's way more than advertising. And I think we can crowdfund this show to a point where it's something truly awesome. We're good today, but I mean, we can make something like freaking amazing. Teary Eye and something, because I can't see the rest of your name, unfortunately. What's it? Teary Eyes Anderson. Just kidding. If you miss a live show, and a short weekly news roundup would also be nice. But you don't, I mean, we don't miss live shows, really. We haven't for a while. When's the last time we missed a live show? And if we do miss a live show, there's not a chance we're going to be able to have time to do a news roundup.
Your vacation.
Yeah, well, that was a couple months ago. That's sooner than I thought, right?
We've been really, really consistent this year.
Yeah. Consistency's good. Last year was bad. See you, Nick. Oh, BZ brings up a good point. The chat room is always up. So if you're bored and want to chat with people, there are quite often people in the chat room. When we first started Space Vidcast, tomorrow, back in season 1, we were on the air 24 hours a day with NASA TV, and there was someone in the chat room at all times, and we would answer questions. It was pretty cool. Larsonator, would you consider quitting your day job and moving to tomorrow full time? I think that's kind of the implication with certain reward levels, or not reward levels, but Patreon levels. I can't say for certain what's going to happen because there is a in my day job, there's something amazing about working with the team that's going to put the first group of humans on Mars that money cannot buy, if that makes any sense. That makes it worth it. At the same time, there's something amazing about this too. So I would have to make a hard decision at that point. Fortunately, I don't need to make that decision today. I won't need to make that decision for a long time.
There's a very, very dramatic difference from your day job to doing this on a regular basis full time.
What do you mean?
Your day job, you're surrounded by people. You're surrounded by people doing things from which you can learn. And having worked in a company in which you're like one of 5 people, where you do everything, you wear many hats, you are solely responsible and your sole source for education, for entertainment, for stress release, all that kind of factors into not necessarily an awesome place to work, and you kind of get burnt out on it.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it depends on the people you surround yourself with as well.
Of course.
Yep. So.
But the fact that you've got a bunch of people where you work that are really, really good in what they're doing, and you have people to learn from, you have, every day you get a different experience, every day you get something that adds to the enjoyment or the pleasurableness of your work environment and what you do, and the fact that you guys are contributing so much to putting people on Mars, and that, you're constantly striving towards a single goal, and everybody's got the same thing in mind. You can't make up for that by...
You can't. But I think there is a certain something about tomorrow too. It's different than my day job, but there's something here as well. There's a sense of community. Even if it was just me doing this alone, there would still be a sense of community because of everyone. It's different. It's just different. and what you're saying is correct, but I don't know. Fortunately, I don't need to make this decision today, so I'm not going to. Astro Eric, yeah, absolutely. We can be so much better, and I will always strive to make this better. And you don't always see it, and maybe you don't always perceive it, but we're always tweaking and adjusting things on the show, more than just logos, just how we interact with you, how we find ways to do things on camera, there's always something just slightly different. And even if you go back to the beginning of this year, you'll see us how we've tweaked and changed things throughout the show. Even other little things like the just moving to the animated background and sliding. Yeah, Dutta's doing it in the background, like the go ahead and pop up DDR or however you want to do that. Like, we started doing that, little things like that, which draw your eye to a certain part of the screen. We animated the background on that. We actually do it exclusively on another camera so that you can actually see it in the screen behind us so that there's context with what you're doing. These all seem like technical changes, but they're actually show content changes so that now if Dutta were to move to the next object, if you can, I know I just sprung that on you quickly. Now you can see clearly we've moved to the next thing simply by watching. You can't read any of this, but you can visually see that we're moving on to the next thing, and it will actually pop out of that screen, right? Little things like that we never mentioned in the show that that Dutta works quite hard on making sure, because that's a lot to deal with in your brain, because there's actually a lot going on. When you look at that screen, there's a lot going on there. There's an animated background composited to a foreground that is then sliding across the screen, which is then doing a digital video effect full screen, which if you miss what's called the flip-flop feature in the switcher, turn flip-flop off, Dutta, and hit the button. Yeah, that happens. So, yeah. And that has happened on the air. I don't think I missed that.
There's also this.
Thanks for the diamond wipe. That's fantastic. There's one.
I pushed the wrong button. What do you want?
There are a couple of times when you, I think you line wiped to break, like you like would just hard wipe out to black. Yeah, that. Thanks for that. Thanks for reminding me of that. All right, I think I'm.
A lot of switches and stuff.
Buttons and levers and knobs and dials.
Oh my.
Have you ever tilted that camera down?
Which one? Oh yeah.
Chris asks if we ever clean up the set after we're done, or if we just leave it in our living room. We just leave it. We move the lights and cameras to the side a little bit, by about, what was that, like 4 feet? But that's about it, just to clear out a walkway. Because
Turn off the lights, close the door.
turn off the lights and close the door is pretty much it. Changing the order of segments. So, indifferent has 5 volts, which is 83%. Do not change it to 17%, so most people don't care. All right. Chris, we're very committed, which is incredible. Someone wrote earlier, maybe it was you, I don't remember, in the chat room that tomorrow is work and SpaceX or the day job is fun. I would actually argue that both of them are fun, and neither one is truly work. I love what I do in both of them, and I wouldn't want to give either one up. That's why I don't want to make that decision, because, yep. Yeah, Badger, we already did the intro. Haha. And actually, we're doing this. This is an incredibly long After Dark, so we're probably going to. Coco Van is a giant behind-the-scenes look at TMRO, and it's what I really want to do in the Google Hangouts for our patrons, and I have been sucking on those hardcore. So I will do better with those. We should be doing those monthly for you guys, so you can. This is what you saw in this After Dark is what all of our patron tomorrow. Google Hangout should be, so you can ask questions and be like, where's our money going? What are you doing with this stuff? How are you making this show better? What are your plans? Sometimes I have good ideas that will truly change the show and really inspire people. Sometimes I have terrible ideas that will drag the show down something fierce. And it's really hard to tell which one's which without a few people commenting on them. So, yeah. Yeah, Dad Dog, I hope so too. On that note, I think we're going to wrap up. Anything else you guys want me to cover before we're done? Yeah, we should find a way to archive the chat room. I should post that somewhere. I should post that somewhere.
Would be awesome to be able to show the chat room along with replaying a particular episode.
Yeah, but the chat room would need to move with the episode somehow.
Yeah.
You know, we might be able to turn it into like closed caption data. That might move too fast though, because if you have like 3 people, it'd be like blah blah blah. You wouldn't be able to control it.
Yeah. But sometimes, especially in After Dark, you guys just simply respond to something in the chat room without repeating the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try not to, but I certainly did with this.
So then you're watching After Dark at a later date and you have no idea what's in the chat room and you're like, yeah, absolutely, that was funny.
And actually, Benny Elon brings up a good point. Conversation should go to the subreddit. So all this stuff, you know, the Reddit/r/TMRO is a great place to continue these conversations. I think it's a really good place. And actually, maybe that is where I post the IRC room is going to be just too long though, but yeah, I don't know. Lars Nader, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thank you everyone for contributing both to the live show and onto the subreddit. It's awesome to see the subreddit continuing to grow. Awesome to see our Patreon campaigns continuing to grow. It means a lot to us. Shows us that you guys care too, right? So, on that note, I think I'm done. Go take care of Carrie Ann. Make sure that she's feeling better. Thank you everyone for joining, and I'm excited for Firefly. That's gonna be awesome. So see you next week.
See you guys.